Throughout the ancient world, where rivers carved through the dust of early settlements, two great civilizations emerged, Mesopotamia and Egypt. Though their pyramids and palaces inspire awe, it is their quieter contributions, canals, drains, and water vessels, that mark some of humanity's first steps towards sanitation and public health. In what is now Iraq, the Sumerians of Mesopotamia flourished as early as 4000 BCE. Nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, these early city builders were among the first to understand the double-edged nature of water. It was life-giving, yet uncontrollable. To manage it, they dug canals, developed irrigation ditches, and built clay pipes to direct wastewater away from their homes. The city of Ur, for instance, had rudimentary toilets and drain systems made from baked clay. Rainwater was guided through underground channels, and homes were designed with sloped floors to help grey water flow away. This early sanitation was not a luxury of the elite. It was woven into everyday life. Public latrines, though simple, show an early communal approach to hygiene. While the term plumbing may not yet have existed, the Sumerians practiced its principles with ingenuity. Further west, in the fertile floodplains of the Nile, ancient Egyptians built their cities with the river's rhythms in mind. Water was sacred, a gift from the gods, channeled through clever human hands. By 2500 BCE, they were constructing homes for nobility with limestone baths and copper piping. Drainage systems beneath temples and tombs directed wastewater into brick-lined channels. The mortuary temples of the pharaohs, in particular, reveal sophisticated water engineering, including basins for ritual washing. Perhaps the most remarkable was their use of shadufs, lever-operated devices to lift water for irrigation, and their early attempts at latrines, complete with seating and waste pits. These weren't mere conveniences. They reflected a holistic view of cleanliness as both physical and spiritual. The innovations of Mesopotamia and Egypt form the roots of what we now call plumbing. They harnessed water not only for survival, but for ceremony, comfort, and civic health. They understood what many later civilizations would forget: that clean water, well managed, was not a luxury, it was a foundation. Though their clay pipes have long crumbled, their ideas still flow through our modern cities, silent and unseen beneath our feet. The Indus Valley civilization, centered in what is now Pakistan and northwestern India, flourished around 2600 BCE. These early urban societies displayed a remarkable level of organization, particularly in how they managed water and sanitation, achievements that would not be rivaled in other parts of the world for thousands of years. Cities such as Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were laid out in well-planned grid systems. Homes, regardless of size or status, often included private wells and designated washing areas. The floors of these washing areas were gently sloped, allowing water to drain into brick-lined, covered sewer systems that ran beneath the streets. These drains were maintained with regularity and even included inspection holes, a level of foresight rare for that era. Perhaps the most iconic structure from Mohenjo-Daro is the Great Bath, a large rectangular pool constructed from finely fitted bricks sealed with natural tar. It is believed to have been used for ritual purification or communal bathing. The sophistication of its waterproofing, the inlet and outlet drains, and the elevated platform all suggest an advanced understanding of water management and structural integrity. The toilets in many homes were simple, yet effective, vertical chutes leading to either soak pits or covered street drains. The integration of these systems into everyday dwellings demonstrates that sanitation was not reserved for the elite, but a civic priority embraced by the wider society. One of the most striking features of the Indus system was the use of uniformly sized baked bricks. This consistency hints at some form of centralized regulation or standardization, which further supports the idea of a highly ordered and administratively capable civilization. Though the Indus Valley civilization declined around 1900 BCE, possibly due to climatic shifts, river changes, or socio-political factors, its innovations in urban sanitation left a silent, lasting legacy. These systems, now buried beneath the dust of time, reveal a people who understood that clean water and proper waste disposal were essential not only to health, but to dignity and civilization itself. The ancient Greeks, inheriting knowledge from earlier civilizations like Mesopotamia and Egypt, introduced their own blend of scientific thinking and aesthetic sensitivity to water management. To the Greeks, water was not merely a necessity. It was a source of health, beauty, and community life. In cities such as Athens and Pergamon, water was delivered through terracotta pipes and aqueducts. These pipes, often buried beneath the city streets, were engineered with remarkable precision to maintain pressure and steady flow. The Greeks also employed inverted siphons and used stone basins to regulate distribution. Public fountains were a common feature, serving both practical and social purposes. Citizens gathered to collect water, share news, and meet in the communal spaces where fountains were placed. These installations were often beautifully sculpted, marrying function with art. Private homes of wealthier citizens sometimes had cisterns and basic drainage systems, though the complexity did not match Roman standards that came later. The Greek emphasis on cleanliness and physical well-being laid foundational principles for future advancements. Greek bathhouses were simpler than Roman ones, but still integral to daily life and health. They were often associated with gymnasiums, where citizens trained the body and cleansed it afterward, reflecting the Greek ideal of harmony between physical and moral virtue. The Greeks also contributed to the scientific understanding of water. Philosophers and engineers explored principles of hydraulics and pressure, ideas that would influence both Roman and later European engineering traditions. Their innovations, while modest in scale, laid intellectual groundwork that helped shape plumbing's long journey forward. Among all ancient civilizations, none demonstrated greater mastery of plumbing than the Romans. For the Romans, water was power, both a political symbol and a cornerstone of daily life. Their achievements in aqueduct construction, public hygiene, and urban infrastructure were centuries ahead of their time. At the peak of the Roman Empire, aqueducts transported fresh water across vast distances, from mountain springs to bustling cities. Some systems stretched over 80 kilometers, relying solely on gravity and gentle gradients to guide the water through valleys and over arches. Famous examples include the Aqua Claudia and Aqua Appia. Within the cities, water flowed into public fountains, latrines, and the grand bathhouses that served as centers for cleanliness, relaxation, and socializing. The baths of Caracalla and Diocletian were architectural marvels, complete with hot and cold pools, steam rooms, and underfloor heating. Wealthy Roman homes even had indoor plumbing, including lead pipes, from which the modern word plumbing derives, plumbum being Latin for lead. Although we now recognize the dangers of lead exposure, the Romans valued its malleability and availability. Perhaps most impressively, Roman engineers built the Cloaca Maxima, one of the world's earliest and most extensive sewer systems. This enormous drain channeled waste from the city into the Tiber River and remained in use for centuries. It exemplifies the Roman understanding that proper waste management was essential to the health and longevity of the state. When the Roman Empire fell, so too did the maintenance and knowledge of these intricate systems. Europe would not see their like again for over 1,000 years. In ancient China, water was seen not only as a practical necessity, but as an element deeply entwined with nature, balance, and harmony. Plumbing and hydraulic engineering were pursued not just for efficiency, but as expressions of philosophy and sustainability. As early as 2000 BCE, Chinese communities were using bamboo piping and dug wells to draw water. These rudimentary systems evolved over time into complex irrigation networks and city drainage channels. By the time of the Qin and Han dynasties, urban planning often included water distribution systems for both domestic and public use. One of the greatest Chinese engineering feats was the Dujiangyan irrigation system, constructed in the 3rd century BCE. Rather than building a dam, engineers redirected the Min River using levees and channels to prevent flooding and supply consistent irrigation. Remarkably, it remains operational today, a testament to both its ingenuity and harmony with natural forces. Within cities, ceramic pipes, drainage channels, and raised latrines were used by both wealthy and ordinary citizens. Some homes had systems that led waste away from the house, either into compost pits or through simple flush mechanisms using ladled water. Additionally, ancient texts like the Caogong-ji documented planning principles, including specifications for drainage and latrine placement, suggesting a codified, bureaucratic approach to sanitation. Water was also central to spiritual and daily rituals, with cleanliness considered vital in Confucian and Taoist traditions. This reverence extended to the architecture of palaces and temples, many of which included flowing water features to reflect peace and order. China's long continuity allowed these water management traditions to evolve steadily. Their systems, designed to last and coexist with the environment, laid a foundation for enduring civic health and resilience. With the rise of Islam in the 7th century, a renewed appreciation for cleanliness, hygiene, and the provision of water shaped the built environments of the Islamic world. Plumbing became not only a matter of public utility, but also a reflection of religious devotion and social order. In Islamic teachings, water is considered a gift and a right, essential for ritual purification, wudu, daily cleanliness, and overall well-being. This reverence translated into the construction of public fountains, private wells, and elaborate bathhouses, known as hammams, across cities stretching from Spain to Persia. Qanats, an ancient Persian innovation perfected under Islamic rule, were gently sloping underground channels that tapped into aquifers and carried water across long distances. These systems allowed water to be transported without significant evaporation, ideal for arid regions. In urban centers like Baghdad, Damascus, and Cordoba, water infrastructure was both functional and beautiful. Fountains adorned courtyards, and cisterns beneath mosques ensured access to clean water. Hammams became social and spiritual hubs, where men and women, in separate spaces, bathed, relaxed, and reconnected with community. Water laws were codified in Islamic jurisprudence, defining responsibilities for water sharing, waste disposal, and maintenance. Even in modest homes, water vessels, drains, and waste chutes were integrated with surprising sophistication. This era marked a synthesis of inherited Roman and Persian technologies with Islamic values, creating a plumbing legacy that preserved health, dignity, and architectural elegance across centuries. The collapse of the Roman Empire ushered Europe into a period often referred to as the Dark Ages, a time when the sophistication of plumbing regressed significantly. Without central governance or infrastructure maintenance, sanitation fell into disrepair, and urban life became less hygienic. In medieval towns, human waste was often thrown into open streets or collected in cesspits that overflowed into nearby streams. Public latrines were rare, and indoor sanitation was limited to the wealthiest households. Chamber pots were common and frequently emptied into alleyways or out of windows, with cries of "Gardy Lou" barely serving as warning. The lack of clean water and effective waste management contributed to outbreaks of disease, including the Black Death, which decimated Europe in the 14th century. Though the link between poor sanitation and illness was not fully understood, some attempts were made to manage waste through rudimentary laws and cesspit regulations. Monasteries and castles were among the few places that maintained more advanced sanitation systems. Monastic communities often constructed stone-lined latrines over flowing streams, and castles developed vertical shafts that carried waste from privies to the outside. Overall, however, this period saw a widespread decline in plumbing knowledge. The communal bathing culture of the Romans vanished, replaced by suspicion of water and personal cleanliness. It would take several more centuries and devastating public health crises before the tide began to turn again. In contrast to much of medieval Europe, the Ottoman Empire embraced water infrastructure as both a civic duty and a religious responsibility. Rooted in Islamic principles and enriched by Byzantine and Persian traditions, the Ottomans created a water culture that balanced utility with beauty and generosity. Cities like Istanbul were adorned with fountains, not merely decorative, but essential. Many of these were funded through charitable endowments called waqf, ensuring their maintenance and accessibility for generations. These fountains served passers-by, travelers, and the poor, exemplifying the Islamic belief that providing water was a sacred act. Public baths, or hammams, were central to urban life. Inspired by Roman baths and Islamic ritual needs, these facilities were not only places of cleansing, but also centers for social interaction and cultural life. Built with domes, marble interiors, and heated through complex underfloor systems, hammams showcased engineering skill and aesthetic harmony. Palaces and major buildings included intricate water systems. Aqueducts, lead pipes, and reservoirs ensured constant supply. Waste disposal was less refined, but still functional, often using flowing water to carry waste away from populated areas. Water engineers and architects in the Ottoman world were respected professionals, and their work was documented with precision. Their systems were designed to endure and to be maintained, a far cry from the neglect seen in many parts of contemporary Europe. Through spiritual commitment and state support, the Ottomans preserved and advanced the art of plumbing, leaving behind a legacy of both function and grace. The Renaissance, beginning in the 14th century, sparked a revival of classical knowledge, including architecture, science, and urban planning, and with it, a gradual return to interest in sanitation and plumbing. Inspired by rediscovered Roman texts and ruins, European thinkers and builders began to reimagine the infrastructure of cities. Engineers explored the principles behind aqueducts, gravity-fed water, and municipal waste removal. Cities like Florence and Paris made early attempts to modernize water supply using public fountains and street-level drainage. Though improvements were incremental, they marked a shift in mindset. Water was again seen not only as a resource, but as something that could and should be controlled for health and comfort. Architects designed homes with internal courtyards for drainage, and wealthy estates sometimes included piped water from nearby springs. Bathing culture, which had been shunned during the Middle Ages, began to return, albeit slowly. Public bathhouses reappeared in some regions, though often limited to the affluent. The idea of personal cleanliness as part of public health began to gain traction, even if the science was still uncertain. Renaissance cities remained largely unsanitary by modern standards, but the seeds were being planted for later reform. It was an age of rediscovery, of ancient knowledge, civic ambition, and the promise that water, when properly managed, could restore dignity to urban life. As European powers expanded into the Americas, Asia, and Africa during the age of exploration and colonialism, they brought with them new ideas and old assumptions about plumbing and sanitation. In the early colonies of the Americas, sanitation systems were rudimentary at best. Settlements like Jamestown and Plymouth relied on shallow wells, privies, and open ditches. Diseases spread quickly, and clean water was often scarce. As colonial towns grew, so too did the challenges of waste disposal, particularly in densely populated ports. In Spanish and Portuguese colonies, builders drew on Islamic and Roman influences, incorporating aqueducts and tiled baths in major cities like Mexico City and Lima. Meanwhile, British and Dutch colonies often struggled to establish consistent water infrastructure, especially in tropical regions where unfamiliar climates posed new challenges. Colonial administrators eventually introduced regulations for cesspits, drainage, and well placement, but enforcement was inconsistent. The exploitation of local resources and labor often meant that indigenous knowledge of water systems was overlooked or displaced. Despite these shortcomings, some progress was made. Cities such as Boston and Philadelphia established early public waterworks by the late 18th century, laying wooden pipes to carry spring water into homes. In the Caribbean and parts of South America, plantation estates sometimes had elaborate systems for irrigation and household water use. Colonial plumbing systems reflected a mix of adaptation, improvisation, and inherited engineering. Though often incomplete and inequitable, they formed the early skeleton of what would become more formal infrastructure in the centuries to follow. The 19th century marked a turning point in the history of plumbing. With the growth of industrial cities, poor sanitation became impossible to ignore. The convergence of urbanization, pollution, and deadly epidemics such as cholera forced societies to reconsider how they managed water and waste. London, for instance, faced multiple cholera outbreaks throughout the mid-1800s, leading to widespread fear and investigation, while many still believed in the miasma theory that foul air caused disease. Pioneers like Dr. John Snow and engineer Joseph Bazalgette began linking contaminated water to illness. Bazalgette's overhaul of London's sewer system in the 1860s was a triumph of civil engineering and is credited with helping eliminate cholera from the city. Other major cities, including Paris, New York, and Hamburg, followed suit, investing in sewer networks, clean water supplies, and filtration systems. Cast iron pipes replaced wooden ones. Water towers, treatment plants, and street drains became symbols of modern progress. Indoor plumbing also began to spread, slowly at first, and mostly among the wealthy. Flush toilets, bathtubs, and wash basins became desirable household features. Still, many working-class communities lacked access to proper facilities, and public baths remained essential. The 19th century demonstrated that plumbing was more than a convenience. It was a matter of life and death, of dignity and decency. Its transformation during this era helped set the foundations for the modern, hygienic cities we know today. As cities grew into metropolises and technology advanced, the 20th century brought standardization and regulation to plumbing. Plumbing codes emerged as critical tools to ensure safe water supply, proper waste disposal, and equitable access. Governments, responding to past health crises and the demands of urban expansion, introduced national and municipal plumbing codes. These codes dictated how pipes were to be laid, what materials could be used, how systems were ventilated, and how backflow and contamination were prevented. The United States developed the Uniform Plumbing Code and the International Plumbing Code, while the United Kingdom implemented building regulations that governed water and waste. These frameworks ensured that homes, businesses, and institutions met minimum health and safety standards. The rise of modern construction techniques, such as prefabricated plumbing assemblies and modular bathrooms, made plumbing faster and more economical. Plastic pipes, like PVC and later PEX, replaced heavier and more expensive materials. These new materials were resistant to corrosion, easier to install, and more flexible, literally and figuratively, in adapting to different building types. Plumbing also became a professionalized trade, with licensing, apprenticeship programs, and certifications introduced to maintain quality and safety. The plumber, once a tradesman of uncertain skill, became a respected and regulated professional. By mid-century, indoor plumbing was the norm in developed nations, with hot water heaters, flush toilets, and washing machines becoming household staples. The plumbing revolution had entered the everyday home. For much of history, plumbing was perceived as a male-dominated field, but women have always played a role, from the unseen labor of drawing and heating water to the design and use of domestic spaces. As society evolved, so too did the visibility and influence of women in plumbing. In earlier centuries, women often managed the water systems of the home, from using wash houses to maintaining cisterns. Their daily experiences shaped how households adapted to plumbing innovations. yet their voices were rarely documented. During the 20th century, as more women entered engineering, architecture, and public policy, their contributions began to reshape the plumbing landscape. Female architects advocated for better sanitation in schools, workplaces, and public toilets. Hygienic design became a feminist concern, with campaigns for clean water access tied to issues of dignity, childcare, and maternal health. In the trades, women began entering plumbing apprenticeships, especially during times of war, when labor shortages opened doors. Though they remained a minority, pioneering women broke barriers and challenged the assumptions about who could wield a wrench or lay pipe. Organizations supporting women in trades have grown, helping train, mentor, and employ female plumbers around the world. Today, women contribute not only as practitioners, but as innovators, policymakers, and designers, advocating for inclusive and equitable sanitation systems. Their growing role highlights an essential truth. Plumbing, like any infrastructure, is shaped by the hands and hearts of those who use it, and those who have long been excluded from shaping it are now rightfully part of its future. While plumbing is nearly universal in developed nations, vast inequalities persist globally. Billions of people still lack access to clean drinking water and safe sanitation. The history of plumbing, then, is not only about invention, it is also about exclusion. In many low-income countries, plumbing infrastructure is sparse or failing. Informal settlements grow faster than services can be provided. People rely on shared latrines, pit toilets, or open defecation. Water must be collected by hand, often by women and children who walk long distances for it. Diseases like cholera and dysentery remain tragically common. International efforts, such as the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 6, seek to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Progress has been made, but disparities remain vast, especially in rural and marginalized urban areas. Non-governmental organizations, engineers, and local leaders are working together to develop context-appropriate solutions. Composting toilets, gravity-fed water systems, solar water purifiers, and low-cost piping solutions are part of the response. The key is sustainability, community engagement, and long-term investment. Equity in plumbing is not merely a technical challenge, it is a moral one. The right to clean water and dignity in sanitation is fundamental. Until plumbing serves everyone, the story remains incomplete. Plumbing has always done more than carry water and waste. It protects public health, fosters human dignity, and enables education, productivity, and quality of life. The broader role of plumbing in society cannot be overstated. By preventing the spread of waterborne disease, plumbing has saved more lives than many medical treatments. Sanitary water systems protect children, reduce hospitalizations, and improve nutrition and hygiene. In schools, access to clean toilets especially benefits girls, allowing them to attend regularly and safely. In urban planning, plumbing infrastructure determines the shape of communities. It influences where homes can be built, how businesses operate, and how cities expand. Water security, ensured by strong plumbing, is now a strategic concern for governments worldwide. Plumbing also impacts mental and emotional well-being. Access to hot showers, functioning toilets, and clean kitchens reduces stress, improves self-esteem, and contributes to a sense of safety and order. As technology and society evolve, plumbing's social role continues to grow. In times of crisis, whether pandemics, natural disasters, or refugee displacement, reliable plumbing can be a lifeline. Understanding plumbing as a public good, not just a private amenity, reframes the conversation. It becomes a tool of justice, resilience, and shared humanity. As populations grew and cities expanded, the materials used in plumbing evolved to meet new demands. The story of plumbing is also the story of its pipes, and how humanity found better, safer, and more durable ways to transport water and waste. In earlier times, clay and stone served as the first piping materials. The Romans used lead for its malleability, unaware of its long-term health effects. Later, cast iron became the standard in European and American cities, prized for its strength and resistance to high pressure. Cast iron pipes, often joined with molten lead or rubber gaskets, could last for generations. By the 20th century, copper gained favor for domestic water systems. It was cleaner, easier to work with, and resistant to corrosion. It soon became synonymous with quality plumbing and remained a standard until newer, more versatile materials arrived. The introduction of plastic revolutionized the industry. Polyvinyl chloride, PVC, and cross-linked polyethylene, PEX, offered lightweight, affordable, and flexible alternatives. They could be installed more quickly, required fewer joints, and reduced the risk of leaks. PEX, in particular, allowed plumbers to route lines like electrical wiring, opening up new possibilities for home layouts. While modern materials brought convenience and economy, they also raised questions about sustainability and long-term health. Research into microplastics and chemical leaching continues, pushing the industry to balance performance with environmental responsibility. The evolution of materials reflects not just technological change, but a constant pursuit of something better, cleaner, safer, longer lasting, in the quiet infrastructure beneath our walls and floors. In the 21st century, plumbing stands at the intersection of sustainability and innovation. As the planet faces rising temperatures, water scarcity, and environmental stress, plumbing has become a frontline tool in the effort to preserve one of our most vital resources. Low-flow toilets, faucets, and showerheads are now common in many countries, reducing water usage without sacrificing performance. These devices, mandated by building codes and embraced by eco-conscious consumers, have significantly reduced household consumption. Grey water recycling, the reuse of water from sinks, showers, and washing machines, is gaining popularity. This water, once considered waste, can now be treated on-site and reused for toilet flushing or garden irrigation, easing pressure on municipal systems. Rainwater harvesting, long used in rural and traditional settings, is making a comeback in urban design. Rooftop catchment systems, storage tanks, and purification filters allow homes and buildings to collect and use rain effectively, even in dry climates. Green building standards, such as LEED and BREEAM, include plumbing design as a core element. Builders are rewarded for systems that reduce water waste, improve efficiency, and use sustainable materials. Beyond conservation, plumbing is helping cities adapt to climate challenges. Permeable pavements, stormwater retention basins, and flood-tolerant drainage systems are transforming how we handle rainfall, not just channeling it away, but managing it wisely. Plumbing, once reactive, is now proactive, helping cities and homes anticipate, adapt, and endure in a changing world. As with so many fields, technology is reshaping plumbing in profound ways. The modern plumber must now understand not only pipes and pressure, but also sensors, apps, and automation. Smart plumbing systems are becoming increasingly common. Homeowners can monitor water usage in real time, receive alerts for leaks, and shut off water remotely through smartphone apps. These systems prevent costly damage, save water, and offer peace of mind. Leak detection has become more precise. Ultrasonic sensors, moisture probes, and machine learning algorithms work together to identify issues before they become visible. Some systems can even isolate and stop leaks automatically, protecting homes from disaster while their owners are away. Touchless taps and toilets, first seen in commercial settings, are now found in homes, improving hygiene and reducing water waste. These fixtures, powered by motion sensors, also became especially important during global health crises, where contactless solutions were in high demand. In commercial buildings, building information modeling, BIM, allows designers and engineers to simulate plumbing systems before construction begins. This digital twin approach helps optimize pipe layout, pressure balance, and service access. Technology is not replacing plumbers, but enhancing them. Training programs now include software, remote diagnostics, and integration with home automation systems. The future plumber is both artisan and technician. In embracing smart systems, plumbing honors its ancient roots, solving human problems with the best tools available, and flows boldly into a digital age. As we look toward the future, the question is not simply how plumbing will evolve, but for whom. Access, equity, and innovation must move together if plumbing is to serve humanity as a whole. The next chapter in Plumbing's story includes cities powered by recycled water, homes with self-regulating systems, and rural communities using solar-powered purification kits. It includes plumbing designed for resilience, to survive earthquakes, floods, and displacement. Decentralized water treatment, where small communities manage their own water needs, is gaining traction. These systems reduce dependency on failing infrastructure and empower local governance. 3D printing may soon allow customized pipes and fittings to be created on site, reducing supply chain issues and construction delays. Robotics may handle hazardous repairs. Smart materials may detect and heal leaks automatically. At the same time, global efforts must focus on extending basic plumbing to all. Billions still live without toilets, with unsafe water, and with little recourse. Innovation must not only chase convenience, but champion compassion. Education and advocacy will be key. Future leaders must see plumbing not as an afterthought, but as a fundamental element of development, health, and climate action. The future of plumbing will not be built with tools alone. It will be built with values of inclusion, sustainability, and shared human dignity. Throughout human history, plumbing has moved mostly in silence, beneath floors, behind walls, under the earth. Yet its presence has shaped our lives more profoundly than most visible achievements. From the muddy banks of the Tigris to the rooftops of Tokyo, plumbing has guided civilization forward. It has carried water and waste, but also hope, health, and harmony. It has enabled cities to rise, families to flourish, and diseases to recede. It is a testament to human ingenuity that we could tame the flow of nature, direct it where it is needed, and shield ourselves from its dangers. And yet, plumbing's greatest strength may lie in its humility, in how it serves, silently and faithfully, without recognition. Today, we stand on the edge of new challenges: climate, population, technology. Plumbing, long taken for granted, may yet become one of our most important tools for survival and equity. As we reflect on its journey, let us honor not only the engineers and inventors, but also the workers who dig the trenches, repair the leaks, and install the systems that uphold modern life. Plumbing flows through time, unseen but essential. Its story is not just about pipes and fittings. It is about civilization itself, and the quiet miracle of water made clean, safe, and near.